Hi there, it's Ryan G. Wright with DoHardMoney.com, and today what I want to talk about is how to evaluate the potential of a rental property, what type of profit you're going to get, if it's going to be a good rental property or not. And so first off, I think what we need to talk about is what are the different ways you make money with a rental property. So the first one is cash flow, right? Cash flow is the difference between what you pay out in expenses and what you get in expenses. And one of the things you've got to be really careful with when we talk about cash flow is what's true cash flow and what's not, because lots of people don't build in expenses for improvements on the property. Capital improvements is what it's called, nor do they look at having people move out and having vacancy, nor do they build in just simply repairs. And so those three things you've got to make sure you're looking at is budgeting some money for repairs, capital improvements, and for vacancy. For myself, I like to budget 5% for capital improvements, 5% for vacancy, and 5% for repairs out of the rent that I'm actually getting. And I take that money and put it into a separate account. So I have some money when those things actually happen to do those repairs or take care of that vacancy or pay myself while it's vacant or make sure I pay the loan payment on it. So that's really important to know. So when you're evaluating returns, the first is cash flow, but cash flow is the difference between what you pay and what you get. And so you've got to have taxes, capital improvements, expenses, your loan payment versus what your rent actually comes in at. And if you calculate it that way, then you've got to then look at what type of return on investment you're getting once you take those things out. And your return on investment is going to go down once you subtract those things out. But that's one way that you make money is through the cash flow, but you want to make sure you're budgeting appropriately. The second way you make money in rentals is appreciation. So if you buy the property and the property goes up over time, and we don't know if property values will go up next year or go down, but what we do know is over a 50-year period or even a 10-year period, we know that the value of real estate goes up significantly. The other way you make money in rental, the potential rental properties, is by buying the property right. So you can buy the property at a discount. Now this is much different than appreciation. Appreciation is something that happens over time as values increase, but buying the property right is getting a discount today for what the property is really worth, either through negotiating or through finding a good deal or being opportunistic. So there's lots of ways that you can find a property that actually has that extra value. So buying the property right, having appreciation, cash flow. The next one we're going to talk about is tax advantages. Some of the tax advantages are depreciation that can be happening on the property. And if you want to, depreciation basically is the government says, thank you for buying a property and helping. So what we're going to allow you to do is depreciate things that are going to need to be repaired. And so they have a depreciation schedule, which allows you to depreciate things that are going to have wear and tear on the property that you'll eventually have to do some repairs on. But you can actually make it a more aggressive depreciation by doing what's called accelerated depreciation, which is going to make you have tax savings. So that's another way that you can make money. The other way in making money is simply an amortization payment. So each time your tenant pays rent, they're actually paying down your loan just a little bit. And so the longer you have the loan, the more they're actually paying down. This is fantastic because you're not taking this in consideration when you're talking about cash flow. Cash flow is the actual money I'm getting. The amortization pay down is each month they're actually paying down a little bit towards your loan, which means your loan balance goes down, your property values may go up, you start to create this spread. So there's lots of ways that you can look at this. The other thing you've got to look at when you're evaluating rental properties is just your cash on cash return. You see, if I don't have to put any money into a property, say I do a BRRRR deal, I buy it, I fix it up, and I refinance with a lender, my cash on cash return can be infinite because I have no money into the deal. If that's the case, I'm willing to take less profits along the way or less cash flow along the way because I really don't have any money into the deal. And as long as I'm secured right and I know values are going to go up and I do the other strategies we've just talked about, I'm okay probably breaking even on that deal or maybe making a little bit as long as I have budgeted for vacancy and I've budgeted for capital and improvements and I've budgeted for repairs. So if I've done those things, a break even is probably okay. But if I'm putting money into the property, I want to make sure I'm getting a certain rate of return off that money. So it really depends on what you're looking for. Lots of people are looking to make around an 8% return on the cash they actually put into the deal as a straight up cash on cash return, and that's how they evaluate. So for example, if I was going to put $10,000 into the property, I'd want to make sure I'm making at least least $800 a year once I pay the taxes, the insurance, the capital improvements, the vacancies, those types of things, which I typically budget for 5% for vacancy, capital improvements, and for repairs. So those are some things you're going to look out for. Now, one of the things that's really tempting when you first get started is to actually go after slumlord properties, properties where it has a good cash flow, it has a good rate of return, cash on cash return. However, they're management intense. And so you've got to just be prepared for that. I'm not going to say not to do that. I didn't start quite that bad, but I did start with some properties and slowly learned these are highly management intense, and I've gotten better properties. And so you can either you can start with those and know they're management intense if you're not valuing as much on your time, but it's a good way to get started and learn, or you can jump up to a little bit better of a neighborhood where you don't have the management problems, because those management problems are expensive, especially if you're looking at the value of your time. So I hope this is helpful as we talk about how to evaluate a rental property and the potential and the cash flow and the rate of return you should be looking for. Check us out at dohardmoney.com and make it a very profitable day.